The mix.
It is Friday, September 15th, 2023. This is Command HQ, and a video of Russia right now, but I'm here with Agent X. Agent X, how are you?
What's up, my man? I'm doing all right. Yeah, we were talking a little bit before the stream, just how nice and clean Russia looks. You walk down any city in America, any major city in America, and all you see are homeless vagrants. Um, I don't know, like if you see fat, ugly people, unhealthy people, drug addicts. America is in decline. There's no doubt about it. Um, yeah, uh, I don't even know what to say about it other than we've we've uh, we've lost our I guess advantage over the world. We've given it away. Um, there are webcams. I was perusing the message boards the other day, and there are literally webcams set up just on streets in Philadelphia, New York, and Chicago, and all you can just see the homeless people moving in and out all day long. Um, and that's the country we live in. We no longer value hard work. We no longer have compassion for other people. We are a country of um, a country of mental illness. This is exactly what we are.
What are the root causes?
Well, I mean, the root cause is the federal government, right? Like the federal government has single handedly dismantled uh, the nuclear family with VAWA and these child support matching. Like, there's no incentive for courts anymore to keep families together or to try to mediate or try to like. It's all about fostering conflict, and that way everybody lines their pockets. The attorneys, the evaluators, the the list goes on and on about the people they rope into these proceedings, and the parties are forced to pay for them, or the government's forced to pay for them. But the federal government has broken down the nuclear family. The nuclear family has always been the safety net, right? For people, and you fall on hard times, you fall back on family. And now you see people who don't have family. Why? Because the nuclear family was busted up by the federal. It was single-handedly dismantled by the federal government over the past 30 years. And now you see the ramifications of it. You see drug addiction. You see men. I don't know if you saw the article the past couple of days, there's been a few articles about how basically, men have stopped applying to college. They have to, they basically have to use male gender as a kind of affirmative action. But you have, men and women less likely to marry, more social isolism, isolationism. And it all comes back to the destruction of the nuclear family, the fact that we've allowed China and Mexico or not well, China through Mexico to basically infiltrate our country with fentanyl and deadly drugs, addictive drugs. I mean, it's like a Trojan horse type thing.
Well, yeah, the open borders play a huge role in the drug epidemic. I noticed that there was an article published in the Star Tribune that I was reading suggesting that there was something like I want to say 1,000% increase in the fentanyl related deaths just in the past 2 to 3 years. And that's basically the time span of recorded data that they have for the pandemic. So those numbers alone suggest a major drug problem, and it's such an easy problem to fix. That's what's so frustrating about it is all you have to do is close the borders and you're good. Instead, they're trying to, treat the symptoms of the cause rather than just shutting the border. And of course, they don't want to shut the border because of political reasons. They want, or they think that they're going to get some votes from a lot of these migrants, and maybe that's true. It probably is, especially in places like New York, or they're trying to kind of overturn Texas and make it a blue state. And in the meantime, drugs are flowing in like, water. People are taking it like it's candy, especially those who may be on the lower economic rungs of society, or just, people who are kind of depressed or, have lost a lot of other things in their life, including their families or whatever it might be. I mean, I was actually reading the story about it posted online. He looked kind of like, a blue collar kind of guy, that his fiance left him and then he got depressed and now he lost his job and he can't pay his rent and he's got a young daughter to support. So, that's just one story of many, obviously, but we have so many problems in this country right now, and I think that especially these federal officials, whether it's members of Congress, senators, bureaucrats in the administrative state, they know what the problem is, but they kind of hesitate, or it's just too fractured at this point to actually nail everything back together. And maybe this country does need to come down. Maybe that's exactly what needs to happen in order to even have any chance of fixing it. But I think you're right on, and I think if you look at places like Russia, which we're seeing here, Agent X, you're seeing that this is how a more high-functioning society looks and operates. I mean,
yeah. I mean, look at our leaders, man. There's no shame anymore, right? Like, we literally have a president who walks out of the White House and says, "My butt's been wiped." Who can't form a sentence, who is in significant cognitive decline. But apart from that, just look at the clowns that make up the Senate, right? The most, or the quote unquote greatest deliberative body in the history of man. We have Mitch McConnell, who's freezing, who's always a chud. Crying Chuck Schumer. I mean, just the most nasally, whiny, put your finger up and see where the wind's blowing person that there's ever been. Hold on one second. But you look at the House of Representatives and you have people like Ilhan Omar, who married her brother AOC, who openly lies, who wants to be a movie star. And now you have people like Lauren Boebert, who are getting groped and jerking some dude off in a movie theater, and there's no freaking shame. No shame.
Yeah. And Biden, the level of cover-up going on there is so immense that he was giving this speech, I think it was yesterday, it was a pharma speech, and suddenly out of nowhere he seemed, kind of low functioning Biden, but suddenly he got very agitated and started screaming. And I looked at that and I was like, that reminds me of really, people in my family who are very old and who were diagnosed with dementia in their late 80s.
Yep.
And the first thing that came to my mind, and the first person that I assumed was responsible for this, is Jill Biden, because this is elder abuse, and it's worse than that, obviously, because it's impacting the entire country. But to do that to a man who should be retired and or in a nursing home, I mean, it's just, and then we have the Hunter Biden corruption and this gun case now, which Agent X, I mean, we should kind of briefly cover that if we can, and then maybe go into the Bergeron stuff if you want. But I mean, they're just another game, plays into the politics of the Second Amendment and gun rights, and not to mention they're gonna slow play the case so that Hunter Biden doesn't have to testify in the impeachment trial, where they're trying to
Yep.
connect up a lot of this activity to Joe, the big guy.
Yep.
So they just waited and waited and waited, and they've been ready at every single layer here to ensure that they can get away with as much misconduct as possible. And there's been
Well, yeah. And the rest of the world is looking at what's going on with Biden, and also what's going on with Trump. I mean, we have a judiciary that is refusing to um, protect the integrity of the courts and call out prosecutorial misconduct. The fact that they're charging Trump in the way, I mean, it was a collusive effort by Jack Smith, Fannie Willis, and Alvin Bragg. Um, hold on one second.
well, yeah, the coordinated activity of Fannie Willis, Elvin Bragg, as well as others here shows you that there's an administrative state that's, uh, aiding and abetting this entire charade of trying to impede Trump. And now there's so much talk about insurrection and, using the 14th Amendment to keep Trump off these ballots in whatever state. I mean, there's talks in Colorado right now to do that. There's talks in other states, obviously. There's talks in Minnesota to do that. There's a bunch of articles in the Star Tribune, and there was a petition to the state Supreme Court there to keep Trump off the ballot. But yeah, back to your...
Well, yeah, well, you saw Ludig, former Judge Ludig, who gave up a position on the Fourth Circuit, a lifetime appointment to go line his pockets at government contractor Boeing. He's the one who, and some low life Harvard law professor, they oh shit, I'm watching a video. But they're the ones who proposed this idea and basically invited people to start filing these lawsuits. And it's ridiculous. We don't have a judiciary that will protect the integrity, the rule of law in this country. We have a president who is dementia ridden, in serious cognitive decline, and this is the perfect time for countries like Russia and China and to strike. And you see that China has surrounded Taiwan, and it's only a matter of time, right? I mean, here, I want to send you a video. Maybe you can play it. I'll put it in the stream chat. But I mean, this is literally what's going on in our country right now. We have people who are just have no respect for the law, who are just driving around, hitting other cars, hitting people on bicycles, and there's no ramifications for it at all. Just watch this. It's wild. Watch this. These guys go up and they hit this white car, right? Like no ramifications for it. And they're videoing it. I mean, it's ridiculous. This is the worst part. Watch this. Dude, can you imagine like
Oh my god, it's so evil. They killed that guy.
yeah.
That's so
Yeah, they
bad. I
did.
mean, no, I saw this. Um, there's also audio with this clip, but we didn't have it in whatever clip we got here. But so it's like two teenagers, I think one's 16, one is 17, and they're yelling obscenities at that first white car here. First part of it, like right here. They're yelling and trying to. This part's almost funny until they actually hit. I didn't know that they hit this car first when I watched the
Yeah,
video.
they
But
hit it.
anyways, they hit him, and then when they killed the guy on the bike, I mean, what the hell's going on in this country? This is fucking nuts, man. Like, and I'm just like,
Oh,
what the?
well, what I was gonna say is, that okay, so we have a government that, you can't believe anything that the government says, right? So we don't really know how the economy's doing, but you have somebody in power who nobody has any legitimate, trust in, um, or anything like that, and you're starting to see workers go on strike. You're starting to see massive layoffs at large companies. I know that there were layoffs a few months ago in tech, but now you're starting to see them, like Ford laid off a bunch of workers today, and they're going on strike. Um, the WWF laid off a bunch of workers. Um, you're starting to see companies really tighten the belts, and yeah, it's kind of scary. Like, we don't really know what's going on. And meanwhile, you go to the grocery store and you buy what you think is a week's worth of groceries, and it's $250. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's wild.
Yeah, groceries are getting extraordinarily more expensive, I have noticed. Even just a few items, and suddenly you're out $75. Or DoorDash is another good example. You buy something even 3 years ago, which isn't that far off, it would be half the price. It's here, it's $40 to get anything DoorDash to you that's going to be reasonable. I don't know what it is there, Agent X, but probably similar, 30 to $40. Grocery store, and that's the thing too. They're covering it up. I mean, no one really does know, but they're saying that inflation is stable at like 2% or something. There's no way that that's the truth. It just can't be.
Well, no, what the Federal Reserve is, so what would happen was they try to say that their target is 2%, on average. So 2% inflation, is what their target is. And for years, because of the quantitative easing and then COVID with the massive injections of money into the economy, uh, um, they couldn't keep inflation down. It was always running at like less than 1%, and you need moderate inflation in an economy, because you have the money cycle, right? Um, and now it's ballooned up with, as all this money actually starts to get circulated throughout the system, due that they injected into it with COVID, and you're seeing supply chain issues and things like that are also causing inflationary pressures. And what happens? we don't really know what. I mean, you feel it. You go to the grocery store and you feel it, right? Um, but we don't know what the actual inflation number is. It's so convoluted, right? Like the consumer price index is meaningless. Like, you know, I remember growing up and gas went to $3, over $3, and it was like a shock. Like people dramatically
Mm-hmm.
cut back driving, and it drove them. Like now, gas is like 3.69 a gallon, and like, no big deal, whatever. Like people are just taking it. It's
I
crazy.
don't think it's very possible for an extended period of time, and gas here is hitting $4. And people aren't cutting back because I think they've already cut back. I mean, with all this remote work or hybrid work where people aren't even driving into the office as much as they were before. But I think if people were driving at the same rate, it might have a bigger impact. But I think what's happening is there's a lot of fluff still on the table, and these employers are starting to try and regain control over the job market by, right now these employers are saying, well, we're lucky to have these particular employees, whatever. And now with all these strikes, the auto worker strike, the writer strike in Hollywood, what they're trying to put some pressure on the market so that they can cut and run, so they can get rid of employees, underperforming employees, or employees that maybe they don't, you know, high priced employees, whatever. They want to make sure that they can get back in control and kind of force their narrative or whatever, their agenda back onto, whatever staff that they're going to have. So I think that's part of it. And they want to get people back in cities. There's been talk, at least here in Minnesota, Governor Walz is pushing companies to stop remote work and start working back, especially downtown where they've lost a lot of the restaurant and hotel market. So I think that's going to come back in the next 2 years. But in the meantime, the reason I think that inflation is not impacting people as much is because there's just so much money right now on the table that people don't care. I don't think people will only start to care when the market dynamics change.
Well, I think that they've changed. When you start, well, one of the what I meant to mention earlier and I forgot, like, we were in a major city last weekend, and I've been in this city, like I've lived in this city, right, for a long time, and was just back visiting, and like you're starting to see people panhandling on the streets again, um, and like I can remember people panhandling on the streets, particularly during the Obama administration. I think it got bad, but when Trump got in office, it seemed like a lot of that got cleaned up because the economy was doing so well. But now I think the economy is starting to slide, and I sent you a chart last night of the 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 uh, um, the Fed's financial balance sheet falling off the cliff, having to buy up all these bad assets. But now you're starting to see like it really affect um, the end consumer, and you're starting to see people panhandling on the streets again, like at intersections and things like that that you didn't see for a long time. It's really, really kind of disconcerting.
I'm
Dude, there's
bringing
your
up
girl.
that chart, yeah. I'm bringing up that chart right now. By the way, have you seen any unattractive women on this stream? Any even overweight women on
No,
this
and
stream?
you know
I
what?
haven't.
Like, there's a girl there with like a big arm tattoo, but like you don't see any girls with like nasty, ugly, fugly tattoos. Like, dude, I don't know, man.
Compared to what you're seeing in the United States, I mean, it's just a different ballgame.
Yeah, so the interest they're paying every day on these reverse repos. So they're basically buying up these bad assets that um,
So
uh,
explain to me what those bad assets are.
so the bad assets are basically uh, uh, like in 2018 they would be the
Those
uh,
underwater mortgages or the bundles
yeah, the
or
mortgages, they
exotic
collateralize them, right?
financial, yeah,
Yeah, they
instruments. Okay,
collateralize
right.
and they basically package them into these collateralized assets, and so the government had to go in and buy them up. But you're
Mm-hmm.
seeing that they're losing 758 billion or sorry $1 million per day in interest because the Fed went in and bought these bad assets um, from the banks so that banks could shore up their balance sheets and not collapse. And
Are you
now
talking
you're
about
starting
like
to
that
see,
Silicon Valley Bank and some of the other ones that
well,
went under?
I think they sold most of the assets to other banks, but yeah, I mean, it's partially that. But I think it's just, in general, the Fed's going in and we don't know about it, but going in and um, buying up bad assets before these banks collapse. And you see, um, difficult to overstate the level of incompetence needed to have a money printer and still lose money. Like, this country's falling apart, man. Like, we're in a real crisis, and people don't recognize it.
I think it's hard to explain because I think some people do recognize the seriousness of the situation we're in. And it's also sort of like inferred or implied by a lot of the things that we're seeing. But I think a lot of other people, maybe even the majority of people, don't want to acknowledge it for fear that it will ruin sort of you know, their ability to kind of just function without freaking out. But I think just when you just look at the financial stuff and that you're seeing more people uh, want to protest environmental or climate change causes versus actually dealing with day-to-day problems that have a significant impact on our lives shows you that I think people are just frankly out of touch with what's actually going on, what we're seeing on the
Yeah.
ground.
Um, yeah. Dude, let's play this Russell Brand video because I think he's about to get Me Too'd or something. I just put it in the chat. It was 12:25. But then I gotta go. I can stream longer tomorrow.
This isn't the usual type of video we make
I
on this
can't
channel
hear it
where
now.
we critique, attack and undermine the news in all its corruption, because in this story, I am the news. I've received two extremely disturbing letters, or a letter and an email, one from a mainstream media TV company, one from a newspaper, listing a litany of extremely egregious and aggressive attacks, as well as some pretty stupid stuff like my community festival should be stopped, that I shouldn't be able to attack mainstream media narratives on this channel. But amidst this litany of astonishing, rather baroque attacks are some very serious allegations that I absolutely refute. These allegations pertain to the time when I was working in the mainstream, when I was in the newspapers all the
Oh
time, when I
yeah,
was
they
in
are.
the
They're gonna
movies,
try
and as
and
I've written about extensively in my books,
exactly what they're gonna try and do. They're gonna bring in some sort of collateral Me Too type of attack against Russell Brand to you know uh, what's the word?
He's about to get
Yeah,
he's about to get torched, bro.
yeah, they want to attack his credibility for sure.
They're gonna yeah, they're gonna hammer him.
Why though? I mean, not. I mean, Russell, what he's got like, okay, I see 7 million subscribers on YouTube, and he can't really be that influential.
Oh, and short on how many subscribers does he have?
That's 7 million.
Yeah, but like
6.5
he
now.
puts out these conspiracy videos. Not conspiracy videos, but sort of right leaning
Alternative
videos.
media videos. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's becoming more and more influential with it. That's the problem. And, you know, it's gonna be funny. I'm just looking over here on the suggested videos, but Vivek Ramaswamy, um, you know, if he kind of gained some steam after that debate, but it's kind of fallen off the map. Nobody's talking about him, but if he gains any sort of momentum, um, watch them go after him like they're you know they're gonna go after him and take him out and basically paint him as a Martin Shkreli, because he is. He did all the same stuff that Martin Shkreli did. He goes around and buys up patents on drugs and buys drugs in research and development phases, or buys, you know, um, uh, uh, basically, you know, cheap drugs, and jacks the prices up on them. And he has the same exact uh, business model as Shkreli did and as Heather Brush did at Milan, Joe Manchin's daughter, where with her she got in, and her mother was the over the Department of Education in West Virginia, and then went to these conferences and things, these education departments, and went and influenced the Obama administration to put the EpiPens in schools. Meanwhile, Milan, who had the patent on the EpiPens, jacked the price up on them. You know, I don't know what it was, like 3,000%, and she testified in front of Congress about it. And instead of holding her accountable and charging her, she did the same. Like, if you look at it, like, she did everything Shkreli did, including, was it taking her company to Ireland so she didn't have to pay taxes in the United States. There's all sorts of, like, they gave her a fake degree from West Virginia. You know, obviously Martin wasn't involved in anything like that, but her game plan or her business model, she did everything that Shkreli did and didn't get charged with anything and got a golden parachute. Meanwhile, you know, we have somebody like Martin Shkreli who could have probably really contributed to society, who's was taken out of it for, you know, what, over half a decade. You know, and it's
because you raised the price of Retrofin or whatever it was called, and it was connected to an AIDS drug. Or whatever.
It's,
and it wasn't
it's
even.
ridiculous.
I think he raised it up. It was like $12, and he raised it up to like $100 or $200 or something. Whereas when you started this with Vivek Ramaswamy, what's the, so, you know, Vivek makes Shkreli look like a fucking saint, right? Because I mean, Vivek has done this way worse than Shkreli, and Vivek has never been prosecuted. And I wanted to ask you, Agent X, why has Vivek not been prosecuted?
Well, just wait. They'll do it. They'll do it. I sent you a video to let's pull that up. This is Heather Brush, Joe Manchin's daughter, who is the CEO of Milan, saying $608 was a fair price for an EpiPen.
Ms. Brush, I just wanted to try to get inside the mind of a large drug company CEO for a minute. When did you guys sit down and decide, after 2008 you acquired the EpiPen, when did you decide to use this model of price increase, and how did you come to that decision?
It was first recognizing the fact that there's a severe, shockingly low understanding of anaphylaxis, and there was a...
Okay, so again, you know, talk to me like I'm 5 years old here. Heather Brush is Joe Manchin's daughter.
Right.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Okay.
Shockingly low
She
number
was
of
the
people
CEO
who
of
were
Mylan
prepared or protected
Pharmaceuticals,
with
which was
EpiPen.
So
it's
you
a major
decided you should raise the price.
manufacturer in West Virginia.
No, sir, we committed
in
to
Pennsylvania.
investing in this product, which we have about over $1 billion over this 8 years to provide access.
Okay, and how much have you made over 8 years?
It is absolutely our largest product, but
No, I just said how much have you made? You said you invested $1 billion. You know how much you invested. How much did you make?
I don't have the cumulative
really?
number.
So
But
you know what you spent. Okay, do you think that you were charging too much? Do you think $600 is too much? Or were you going to keep rising the price?
Sir, which is why we took the unprecedented action of putting the generic in at
No,
$300.
okay, no, we're not going to, we'll get to that. But did you plan on increasing the price in 2017?
No, sir, we did not plan
Okay,
on
but you
raising
did have
the
a plan then to raise it every year for 5 or 6 years?
And if you look at what we received
No,
out of that
not
money,
and, I just asked you a
six-
question. Did you have a plan to raise the
generic at
price every year for
$300,
6
bro.
years?
We
and
have
then
raised
stop.
the price. We have raised the price, and I think managing to what we received, that 274 out of the 608 is what we were managing.
So, you know, you're obviously proud of your company. You think that was fair then to raise the price each year to that point, even though you got a drug at $100, which was probably too much for the drug considering what the cost is. I know you made a fancy clicker because I had one of your reps come by my office back in 2009 or 10 show me how to use it. So I know that cost a little bit of money. But generally when a drug goes to generic, doesn't the price go down?
Which is why we dropped it to $300.
Only after you jacked it up to $600. It's like if I go buy this tie and they say it's $600, but we're going to sell it to me for $300, that doesn't make it worth $300. You fixed the price on the drug, and now you know. When did you know you were going to release the generic?
We announced it several weeks ago.
Okay, but when did you know as a company? I mean, you knew it was coming. You got a gentleman sitting next to you. It takes months, maybe years.
No, sir, we're putting an authorized generic in the market, which is equivalent to
Okay, so
EpiPen.
we're supposed to feel good because you've taken a drug that you're overcharging 6 times what it's worth, and you're going to drop the price to $300.
Sir, we were receiving 274 out of the 608.
Do you think you were charging too much at $600?
Sir, we believe it was a fair price, and we've just now lowered that price by half.
Yeah, so Shkreli gets prosecuted for, I think, who did Shkreli piss off? He pissed someone off, and then really that's the reason they went after him, and they kind of made up this whole deal about retrofin. You had people like Joe Manchin's daughter, Heather Bresch, you know, do something much worse. And I guess this drug is used for allergic reactions and
Yeah, it's
used to
for
treat
full-
emergency
yeah.
allergic reactions. So it's marketable to a whole range of institutions, schools being one of them.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, there's a huge market for it. So,
Well,
and then
hold
you
on,
have,
hold on. You have to realize what they did, right? They jacked the price up to $608 for a drug that what did the House member say? They originally had it at $100, and even there it was too much for what the drug cost.
I think it costs like $10 or something.
Yeah, so even let's say $100 was a fair price, an original price. They jack it up 600%, right? And what do? Well, Heather Bresch's mother, Joe Manchin's wife, goes into schools and mandates that EpiPens be put in schools. So they have they basically have a manufactured market for a drug that they just jack the price up of 600%. I mean, that's wild. I mean, that's organized crime.
You wonder too, especially this is a very fundamental example of something like this happening, but more and more you're seeing people blame autism on vaccines and all this other stuff, and hopefully YouTube doesn't strike this channel. I'm not saying there's a couple legal cases out there right now that are substantive of this very issue. So I'm not saying that that's true or not. I'm just saying that there's allegations out there. But anyways, there's, when you look at the financial scheming here, where they're mandating certain medications, particularly as it relates to institutionalized medicine in schools or hospitals, whatever. And you're seeing more and more medical ailments, illnesses coming out of it because of, I think, some of the scheming and corruption going on. I know that's vague, the way that I described it, but I mean, you can kind of see how this works. And then they gradually, if not aggressively, raise the price to a level that's so incredibly unreasonable. Not even 600%, it was like 10,000% here. But you're seeing it more and more. But yeah, Vivek Ramaswamy, I mean, people
Well,
have
just
done
wait,
a
they're
lot of
gonna
deep
go
dives
after
on this
him.
stuff. Yeah, they'll definitely go out. This is going to be one of the prime attack vectors
gains
for
any-
Ramaswamy.
If he gains any momentum, they're gonna go after him, and they're gonna basically paint him as
Corelli times 2.
the devil
2.0.
version of Scarelli.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's got a large surface area there to attack. Sure.
yeah.
Hey,
But
okay,
anyways,
so I know you want to go, but I want to just, if you have enough time, just 5 minutes, can you kind of paint a picture of what's going on with the Hunter Biden stuff, and even a little bit of the Trump stuff, if you can? Agent X.
dude, well,
People love
I
that
mean,
stuff.
yeah, I haven't followed it too closely, so I'll be more prepared tomorrow. But he got indicted. There was a certain deadline that, so when the deal blew up, there's a certain deadline under the Speedy Trial Act, I think, that the prosecutor has like 30 days or something under the Speedy Trial Act to file an indictment. And so basically, they indicted him on 3 gun charges relating to, I guess, lying on his application when he was a drug. You got to remember, Hunter Biden was thrown out of the what was it, the Air Force or the Navy because of his drug use. And yeah, so these, you gotta wonder, like, what was he doing with the gun? Remember in the text messages from the leaked laptop that his sister-in-law, who he began dating,
Yeah, his
threw
sister-in-law
it in a
threw the
dumpster,
gun, and yeah, dumpster, and the Secret
and the
Service had
Secret
to pull it
Service
out or
went and got
something.
it.
That's
Yeah, so
how they had some evidence that he was actually in possession of the gun when he was using drugs or something.
yeah, so there's a big problem. I don't know what to say about it. I think
Well, why are they ignoring all of these other crimes like tax evasion? I don't think they
I
tried
don't
him
think
with
that they
felony tax
are.
evasion.
I don't think that they are. I think they'll probably either have another indictment,
A deferred
um,
indictment or something.
a superseding indictment, but they
Okay.
might just have a separate indictment as well and call it another case. Because I think originally the gun case was separate, but it was part of the same plea agreement, if that makes sense. It was a different case.
Okay.
But I think you're starting to see it ramped up over the past at least week, but definitely a couple weeks, that Biden is going to step down, or he's not going to run for re-election. And I think that you're going to see a stronger push for that as the heat gets put on Hunter Biden more and more, and as Biden has more of these cognitive issues. Did you see the video I sent you this morning where um, Jean Pierre had to end the press conference abruptly because he just got stuck and started rambling?
I
Like,
think so. Yeah.
it was
Wait,
pretty,
wasn't he on like some stage? This wasn't at the
yeah.
White House, right? It was on some stage and they turned the music off and they were trying to get him off
No,
stage and he wouldn't shut up.
no, they had asked him a question and he just started rambling in the middle of it. Kind of got stuck. Let me see if I can find it. Hold on. But I think what you're going to see is
Do you think they're taking the lid off Biden, or do you think
Yeah.
he's just getting worse, or do you think it's a combination of the two? I think
Both.
they're taking the lid off of him.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. I think that they're putting him out there more to make him. Oh, this was in Vietnam. This was in Vietnam.
Oh
4 days
yeah,
ago.
okay, so I
They're
remember
outputting
that one.
right now.
Yeah. There's also another one of him I saw recently where he was with the Indian Prime Minister and the Italian Prime Minister, and he was like roping the Italian woman, and then whatever the Indian guy, I forget his name, had to like tap him on the shoulder to get his attention because he was like roping the Italian woman and trying to sniff
Yeah.
her hair.
Dude, I sent you the video where he called that kid a sexy little
Oh my
kid or
God.
something like that.
Oh my god! Yeah, I need to watch that. He's a
Most
Yeah,
people
dude.
have no clue that in 2023, the best way to make money on
Yeah, I mean, it's
Amazon
pretty
is not.
obvious.
President Biden is about to board a plane and return to the U.S.
I don't know
after
where
his
it is
trip
in
to
here,
Vietnam
but-
and the G20 in India,
Yeah.
aimed
Anyways.
in part at countering China's influence in Asia. A short time
It's somewhere in here.
John McCain Memorial in Hanoi.
Yeah,
the
I
late
think so.
senator was held captive
Dude,
there
they're
during
killing.
the
They
Vietnam
just killed
War.
the stream, bro.
Now, after President
It's
Biden's
absolutely
trip
nuked it. We had almost 600, 700 viewers, and they've nuked us down to 87. Ah,
Yeah, it'd be pretty hard to find it in here. I'm looking. Yeah,
maybe it's not in there.
no, it's not in here.
Oh no, it is. It is. It's
is?
at go to 35 seconds.
Good. 5, 6, 35. Okay.
Thank you, everybody. This ends the press conference. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Anyways, all right, dude, I gotta go to bed.
It wasn't confrontational at all.
So what's going
But
on
I'm-
with Trump?
Thank you, everybody. This ends the count.
You
I don't
think?
think I haven't heard anything.
Yeah, but I mean, so they've issued this gag order, and I think that they tried to say that Trump has already violated it, and they're going to try and narrow the terms. They're really trying to, set
Silence
him
him.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll look into it more, and we can just discuss it tomorrow. But
Okay.
yeah, all right, man. Yeah, good stream.
Okay.
Thanks for watching Command HQ with Brink and Agent X. We'll see you next time.